Welcome to Agriculture Science 465, a class taught at Montana State University by Florence Dunkel.
All right, let's take a few moments, make it 1 minute if you could possibly. And if the main thing you developed was methods since we last met, good, but give us a little insight into your results. Start with Tara.
I'm looking into beekeeping as a possible solution for another protein source for the children in Snoqualmie, the bee brood. And so far I've found the pupae is somewhere between 15.8% and the larvae is like 18% protein. It is lacking in 2 amino acids, but not tryptophan or lysine. And then I've also been looking into beeswax as possibly being a coating for certain crops to protect against insect infestation, where they use shea butter now.
Okay, Brittany.
Well, I did a survey on the Crow Reservation, mostly focusing on types of food that they're eating, if they're gardening.
Ned.
I'll be doing my research for this course on Friday, actually. I'm going to get some cameras in the hands of some middle schoolers that did study at Hawthorne School. Just looking to practice some participatory video methods with the kids. So I think it should be kind of interesting to see, you know, how their knowledge or minds have shifted around that.
Maddie and Mallory.
Well, we actually already collected our data. We had a food sensory panel last Friday. We served them 3 dishes out of the cookbook. We're making a cookbook using all produce from the garden and greenhouse. People judged each recipe based on things like taste, appearance, overall likability.
And we're going to have one of those recipes tonight. You can
That's right.
Informal evaluation. Sarah.
I'm doing my project on the Northern Cheyenne lame deer area. I was collecting data on how they feel about their health aspect up there. If they're getting fresh fruits and vegetables, if they feel that they're getting enough, if they would like more. And as a result, it rolls into Meredith Tauble is trying to start a community garden up there. So I'm trying to support that and do a poster on that.
Yeah, and Chris.
It was just a survey on perceptions of water quality on the Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation, same region, just lame deer mainly. It'll be given to students and their family, friends and family, ideally. Obviously don't have results yet.
I'm working with a couple of the ladies at Chief Dolnick and Lame Deer on a participatory.
Who are they? CJ?
Josette, Woodlegs, and Janelle Bertus to discuss things like pressing issues in that society today. Also communicating and readdressing issues of like defining what poverty is, what is life on the reservation really like, nutrition, self-determinism, and sustainable futures. The goal of it is to create a deliverable that can benefit tribal school setting and also non-tribal, so to really promote intercultural discussions. That at the end of a curriculum, people can directly contact people on the reservation to really promote a sense of collaborating and trying to address maybe misunderstandings or questions that kids in the classroom may have.
Taylor. Taylor speaking for Coleman and Taylor.
Yes, Coleman's not here, but he did a survey this past weekend. I don't know what his data turned out. We're trying to put together kind of a health-related calendar for the Chief Dolnick Reservation. It seems like there's a lot of people that are starting their own projects as far as being informative through different types of calendars. But as far as statistics go, how their projects have turned out, we're not really finding a lot of data.
And Jason.
I'm going to be completing the bulk of my research in the summer with the Apsalica tribe. I'm going to be following up on Maddie's and Mallory's cookbook, and I'm going to be evaluating impact, uptake, and adoption of the cookbook. Basically, how effective, if they were able to use it to help increase their vegetable intake.
I guess that's it. Thank you. I'm really proud of you. I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks too.
The class then sat through a presentation by Ka-Fyung Leung, a former student of Florence's, in which he discussed the importance of multicultural perspectives throughout history, ending with a focus on the hope of multicultural perspective in the world.
I'd like to have you think a little bit about Bennett for a moment. Did Ki-Fung say anything that was not the way Bennett would have said it? What would, whatever his first name is, Dr. Bennett say if he were here?
Kind of looking beyond simple things where it's like everybody's got to eat, everybody's going to do those things, to more of like multiple perspectives, maybe enrich your understanding of how certain dynamics work. I don't know what he'd say, but
Yeah, would Bennett say we're all fundamentally the same, or I could. No, I don't know if he's good.
no, I'm just saying like along the scale of centrism to relativism.
One thing he'd probably say is it's important. It's almost, or what we found is it's almost impossible, as we've seen. When you say groups take, for instance, the IDI, it's almost impossible to move way out to integration or even to acceptance and what's the other one over there on ethnos relativism?
Incorporate.
Integration, assimilation, and acceptance, assimilation, and integration, unless you've actually grown up in two cultures, like, for instance, Ki-Fung and Jason certainly has.
We then heard from Jason Baldez, who had returned from New Zealand as a part of a study on forest fires. He talked about the places he visited on the islands, covering the culture and traditions of the native New Zealanders. He took the class on a virtual tour of the islands.
But there are still health issues, like experiencing here with having to give up traditional food.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Well, when they settled with the Crown, it was 13 years ago. It was because of the loss of their land. So the Maori only managed 1% of their former land, and they actually have a thing called the right of first refusal, so that any lands that become available or for sale, the Maori have the first right to either buy those lands or designate specific access for different resources that are associated with that.
Great. Questions?
How long were you there for?
About 45 days. I really liked the northeast coast. I would have liked to have gotten up to the East Cape was where they call it. I guess no tourists go there, and that's where the highest population of Maori are. I made some really good contacts there. I made some people that I think I'll probably always keep in touch with. In particular, a carver that I met in Dunedin who does jade carving. He's designated a carver for their people, so he has access to the veins of jade, or panamu that they call it, up in the mountains, where he accesses those, documents where it was located, takes those back to his shop, carves them, and then sells them to tourists. But you can register his carvings online, so that that carver or the natural carver from the island and from a Maori tribe is actually doing the carving, because they have a big problem with outsourcing to other countries to do that carving. So almost everybody who goes to New Zealand is going to buy a chunk of jewelry, either jade or bone, and if you don't know that it's been carved by a Maori, then you could be getting something that came from China.
I was a little bit fascinated by you saying that 750 years ago, before that, there were no natural fires. How do you know that? They don't have lightning, thunderstorms?
The lightning that does strike only affects about a 10-foot diameter, because it's so lush and green that it just can't burn. It just goes out.
Yeah, there's no dry season. They actually they don't hay for their cows and animals over there, because there's so much rain. It's so fertile that there's food year round.
So they don't have a wet side and a dry side like the
Not so much. The North Island is a lot wetter than the South Island, and when the Maori arrived, they brought with them the kumara, which is a sweet potato. That was their primary food source on the North Island. However, in the South Island, it gets too cold, and so right about no further south of Christchurch was the kumara grown, and therefore there weren't very many Maori that were down that far who weren't seafaring people.
While we're kind of putting out the food, maybe those of you who are doing posters, I'm just checking to see if I have those big sheets that you were able to find in the office. Grandpa Bob will help out with that one, okay? He'll help you with what size it has to be plugged into to make the big poster. And my job is to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's dotted and the right logos are on, right? As opposed to the wrong ones. Now, the other thing about the poster is that because it costs money and I will be ending up paying for it, not from a grant, but it's from my own pocket. So I'm going to want to make sure that each, that the verbiage is well done and all that kind of stuff. All right? I think that's it. We're going to break into small individual groups. This is all shea butter research from a fellow from this class, and this is all Hyptis picagera, which is used to preserve cowpeas by Howell Coulibaly. And yeah, I just brought them. I'd be glad to tell you about that. Laboratory research, this is typical field research as well. I mean, you did all your field research on one of those as well.